Boom. And we are live with another episode of the Brown Water Banter podcast. My name is Jared Seymour.
My name is Joey Cates.
It is Joey Cates, and it's a happy new year. First episode of 2024. We're going to kick things off right in the studio. A professional at this. We didn't even have to go over the normal stuff that we have to.
She was giving us pointers.
That's right. Carrie Duncan Cuevas from WLOX. I'm sure you're familiar with her. You've seen her before. We're going to be talking about all kind of different stuff today, incorporating meteorology into outdoors, hunting, fishing conversation. That's going to be fun. But before we do that, we're going to thank the people that keep the lights on, man. It's 2024, and I don't have a catchphrase yet, but Dr. Bob, I'm going to get you one. If you're looking for a great local dentist, Dr. Robbie Williams over at Southern Magnolia Smiles, man. They're located on Washington Avenue in Ocean Springs. Look them up on Facebook, on their socials at Southern Magnolia Smiles. And when you're ready to book that appointment, tell them that Brown Water sent you. Give them a call at 228-215-1202. Our buddy Tyler over at Taylor & Cox Law Firm, they've been practicing law in Pascagoula for 30 years, representing the people of the Mississippi Gulf Coast, Jackson County, George, and Greene. If you find yourself in need for legal representation for any reason, man, they come highly recommended. And from us now that we've been working with them for as long as we have, give them a shout, 228-696-0111. That's Taylor & Cox Law Firm. We want to appreciate them sticking with us in the new year. Our buddy Rocky Brooks over at Sea to Swamp. You can look him up as well on Facebook. Sea, the number 2, and Swamp. He's got 2 locations now, one in Gaucher and one in Gulfport. He's got all your tackle and apparel needs covered, man. He's slinging kayaks. He's got the whole store set up there. He's got a brown water gear. Go check him out. He's a local shop. Give him a shout at 228-205-3964. Tell him that we sent you. This is Kendrick over at Forever Young Men and Women's Health. You can also look him up on the socials, Facebook and Instagram. If what better time than January the 2nd to start that New Year's resolution?
Burn that gym up, baby.
Let's burn that gym up, baby. Go put your health care in the hands of a professional. Let him run some lab work on you. Let him see if you're deficient in any areas like vitamins or hormone. They specialize in testosterone replacement for both men and women, believe that or not. Go back and listen to the episode when we had Kendrick on. You can give him a shout to book that appointment at 228-363-6623 and tell him that we sent you. And then new for 2024, we have Dee Doo Bugs.
Just got it today, hot off the press.
Just signed the contract.
The ink still.
We haven't even cashed a check
That's
yet.
right.
But I'm going to let Joey, you've been there, Joey. That's located by Scarlet Pearl in
D'Iberville.
It's
Down there in D'Iberville, right on the bay. It's a beautiful place. He's got a seafood market in there. He's got a deli. He's got all kinds of stuff. Just built a stage outside.
Okay.
So it's going to be killer. The Maverick. If you like boiled, this is not steamed. It's not like Jordan River. It's not steamed. It's actually boiled. So if you like boiled seafood, place to be. He's had crawfish the past 2 weeks. Probably the only place, him and the other one over there in Pascagoula, but it's going to be a hot spot this summer.
Heck yeah. Well, we appreciate them coming on board. Like Joey, like we said, they're right across from the Scarlet Pearl, just to the west. So go check them out and tell them that we sent you. Look them up on the socials as well. So I think that covers it for our 2024 people. So where do we start? Carrie, first, thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
It's great to be here.
Thanks for coming and hanging out with us.
Come on.
Yes,
for whatever reason that would be.
Well, like I told you before we went live, the weatherman. For the outdoor guy, especially fishing, y'all take a lot of heat for stuff that's probably not your fault, right?
Well, actually, none of it's
your
fault,
right? I would say that's probably.
I mean, if we're going to go ahead and say, now, we'll take credit for the good. If you like it, then A-okay all day long. But if you don't like it, I mean, do you really think I can control it?
That's right. That's right. We always start with people on the show, their background. So were you born and raised here on the Gulf Coast?
I was not.
So you're a transplant.
I was born in Mississippi.
Okay.
I was born in the Delta.
Okay.
In Greenwood, and spent like the first 18 months of my life in Indianola.
Okay.
Ooh.
And then we moved to Starkville, and that's where my dad and his business partner started a business. And so that's where we grew up, in Starkville. So I'm a Bulldog fan. So I'm,
Stark Vegas.
I like to win. When we win, it's fun, and I'm used to losing. So, that's a Bulldog fan for you. It's a good way to grow up.
If you're a Saints fan too, you'll fall right in line.
True.
Same kind of situation.
Same concept. But yeah, I went to Starkville Academy. I mean, in Starkville back in the 80s, I mean, there was public school and private school. And so that's very different for me from down here, because I feel like there are I mean, there are public schools everywhere. There are private schools everywhere. They have a couple more private schools now, but I mean, it was public or private. And so my parents ended up putting us in private school, and I went K through 12 on the same campus. Like I graduated with 44 people.
Oh, wow.
Like, I mean, very small and honestly idyllic. I mean, my parents were married my dad passed away in March. It'll be 2 years. So they were married for 50 plus years. My husband and I actually got married on their 45th wedding anniversary. Wow. So we just celebrated our 10th. So they were married for, I guess, 53 years because it would have been their 55th this past December, the 28th, just a few days ago. But anyway, so I don't know. I had a great life. I mean, of course, there are challenges. I mean, I was the youngest of 4 girls, so I had to keep up,
finding a hairbrush.
Well, he didn't have much hair.
I can relate.
But, 2 of my sisters were salutatorian. And again, we're talking 44 people.
Right.
So, and I think one of my sisters graduated with 28.
No.
But, it's still, I had that pressure to make good grades.
Right.
And I struggled in focusing and paying attention. I got in trouble for talking in school, but now I get paid to do it.
That's
so.
right.
It worked out.
Yeah. It's like the teacher saying you'll never have a calculator in your pocket.
No, it's on our phone.
Yeah.
I use algebra all the time now.
Yeah, no doubt.
So you actually, that doesn't get more Mississippi than that, I would say.
Yes.
So how did you end up down here?
Well, my first job was in Erie, Pennsylvania. And so I moved from Mississippi. And in fact, I mean, I was at Mississippi State. And at the time, it was the only broadcast meteorology program school in the country.
Okay.
Like it was the first one and it was the only one. And so, I mean, I got in kind of at the beginning. It was almost always men, and it was middle-aged white men. And there's still a lot of that.
Right.
But there's a lot more female. There's a lot more ethnicity coming into it and into the field. But I mean, it's a science field. It's a math field. And there's a lot more math and science now, of course, being taught.
Yes.
But with that, I was like, I'll try that. And so I did. But they were a real severe weather school. They taught Great Plains. They went out chasing
like tornadoes
and stuff. So I took that job in Erie, and they were like, "Ugh." And so Doug Gillum, who's still actually he teaches up at State with the program. He's from Canada. They had him as a student because he was one of my classmates. They were like, "We need you to teach lake effect snow for this next week." And so he did, thank goodness, because we certainly had lake effect snow, 111 inches that winter I was there. But I was only there for a winter before I
realized that was
a terrible move.
Well, the general manager fired me. I mean, yes, he was like, "I think you lied on your resume." And I was like, how do you lie on a video resume?
Right. Yeah.
Like, I mean, because this was back in the day when it wasn't like Photoshop and cutting thing. I mean, it was like tape to tape.
Yeah.
Like, and for those of you who don't know what that is, it was like literally like
you cut the tape and tape it in.
We didn't have those skills.
Right.
And so anyway, but he was awful.
Well, you're better off.
And yes, I am. And so anyway, so I ended up calling and getting a job the next day, and it was with a station that had tried to say, "You don't want to go up there." And I'm like, I mean, I've already given them my word. I'm going to go.
Right.
Well, that opening 6 months later was still open.
Okay.
Which also should have been a sign.
Yeah.
But I was there for 3 years and 3 months. They tacked on those 3 months because you have a 3-month trial period, and then they started my contract.
You got to read the fine print. That's the takeaway from that.
It was, but I graduated college when I was 21. I mean, I was very
I might have waited a little longer. Me personally, I didn't graduate that early.
And
you were
so
a spring chicken.
I got out in 3.5 years. So I graduated in 3.5 years. And so I was
from Starkville.
Yes, from Mississippi State.
Oh, so in your hometown?
I went to Mississippi
impressive.
State.
Yeah. I guess because you've already done it. Like you've already partied there before.
Well, no, I never went to a bar before I was 18. Now, I was also, I was a KO. And so I knew, if you want to get into a sorority, which I didn't know any better, honestly. And with the meteorology program, I mean, I was in my last semester. I was like, oh, I've got to go to chapter meeting.
Yeah.
And they were like, what? You're in a sorority? I'm like, I mean, I have a tag on the front of my car.
Yeah.
But I wasn't.
Big Greek letters?
Yeah.
But I wasn't like, I'm a Greek life. Like, I
Right,
wasn't that. I kind of did it because that's what my sisters did. And I'm glad I did because I have some great connections from it.
Friends, network.
And I really think that is, important for, I mean, men and women to think of, our girls and boys, I guess, to think about as they are going in, that it's not just to go in and party. It's to really make connections that will be lifelong, because I feel like I've got so many more of those connections now, even than I did when I was in school. But anyway, so went up to Erie, Pennsylvania for like 6 months for a winter. 111 inches of snow later, moved back down and at least got south of the Mason-Dixon and got into
God's country.
Greenville, North Carolina. So people go, oh, South Carolina. I'm like, no, North Carolina, Eastern Carolina, where ECU is. So if you're a Southern fan. And I mean, there were more people there. And I mean, I was like, really opened my eyes. They had never left their county, like never been out of their county. And I was like, what do you mean you've never, like, it was such a foreign concept to me, because even growing up, we would go to another county to play sports.
Right.
Yeah. You go somewhere.
Yeah. But it was like,
they had cars and
never
roads and stuff.
Oh yes, they do. Plenty of them. But yeah, it was just, they were huge NASCAR fans in Eastern Carolina.
Why wouldn't they?
I mean, huge. And I, of course, didn't grow up with that.
Right.
So I was like, oh, wow. So
slight culture shock.
That's what there is. Yeah. And
how close to the coast were you?
I was still an hour and a half probably to get out to Nag's Head.
Yeah.
And then the Crystal Coast. You kind of had to go around the bay, the inlet, north or south.
So did y'all do any water stuff? Did you fish? Did you go to any of those stuff?
I actually did do my job, and I went out with a shrimp fisherman.
Really?
I couldn't understand him.
Okay.
Like it was like a completely different, it was be like probably going to Louisiana and Cajun fisherman or something. Yeah. I mean, I was like, I remember looking at my photographer. I was like, what is he saying?
Yeah.
I don't know what he's saying. It was so cold. And he told me how awful it was for a stingray. He said, that's the worst pain I ever had in my life. I was like, what?
What did he say?
The worst pain I ever had in my life. I pulled a stick and I dropped it and there was a stingray. And I was like,
like the guy from The Water Boy.
Yeah. It was, I mean, but it was worse than that, of course. I'm not really doing that justice.
Right. You're not going to go full into it.
But anyway, so I was terrified. So then, of course, the cameraman's rolling and that happens and we see another stingray. And I was like,
I'm not getting by it.
I mean, I screamed and I ran. And then I was like, where am I? I mean, I'm on a boat. Where am I going to go?
I can't go so far.
Yeah. So, but again, keep in mind, I was probably, 22, maybe 23 at the time. So I was still just learning so much. And I just think it was such formative years, those years are, that I was able to do so many things.
Yeah.
I mean, I was able, like, Pepsi Cola was founded in New Bern, North Carolina.
Really?
So I learned that. And do you know that Pepsi Cola, it was green at first. And they were like, this is not going to sell.
Did not know that.
And so they added the additive to it to make it the color. And then they had to come up with a name. It was something else. They were like, this is not going to work. And so on the corner in downtown New Bern, adjacent to their building where they were brewing it, is an Episcopal church. They rearranged the letters in Episcopal, and that spells Pepsi Cola.
Oh, wow. That's a cool story.
Yeah.
I just found out that Zepco, and I forget.
I'm still trying to, I'm like,
Yeah.
it does. It does.
There was probably some leftovers, but
No, there weren't any.
That's all of it.
it's all of it?
It's all of it.
Oh, man.
And I can't even
Not
spell.
church.
Yeah.
Not church,
not
but
church,
Episcopal.
but Episcopal. That's Pepsi Cola.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Did we get into the root? Why did you go into
Yeah,
leather?
that was my next
Oh,
question.
yeah. No.
Yeah.
Well,
Did you always know?
no,
Okay.
I didn't think anybody watched the news.
Oh,
I mean-
everybody watches the news.
Well, no, I didn't growing up. And
Okay.
so, we're not,
Down here, like the 4:00 news is.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I remember Dave. and
Come
that-
in,
when I
wash
was
your
a
hands,
kid.
sit on the
Yeah.
couch and shut up.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
Grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this is pre-iPad and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know
Right.
about now for the kids now.
Right. Well,
We were growing up.
yeah, I mean, I think so because I have a lot of people who are like, I've grown up with
That-
you.
yes.
I've been on 21 years.
Yes.
I'm legal.
I can,
Yes.
I can remember Mike Reeder doing they would do the art when you would send it in. And I remember being in school, elementary school, and we would all do one. And then for the next 4 days or however long it was, you're glued. Where's my art? And then they would be like somebody else in your class, and you're like, oh, God. You know what I mean? People watch the news.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I didn't think people watched it because I didn't. And when you're young, you're very naive,
Right.
and you're a little self-centered.
Right.
And so you think, well, everybody's like me. Nobody watches the news. This is going to be an easy job.
Okay.
But I did always like the weather. I loved when we would be, and now this is going to sound bougie, when we'd be out at the country club. It's the Starkville Country Club. Let's remember that.
Lower our expectations.
Much lower.
A lot of cows out there.
Yeah, you did pass some cows.
Yeah.
I mean, it's much nicer now than it was when I was growing up. But a storm would come in and we'd have to get out. But I always thought it was so cool how the temperature would change.
Yeah.
Like the cool air would be so hot, and then the cool air would come in and rain and storm. And I was always very interested in that.
Yeah.
I don't really ever remember honestly thinking though, how does this work?
Right.
Now, I am a question asker, and I always have been. And I can remember being in 8th grade when the water crashes on the shore and it comes back. How does it not keep building up? And my 8th grade teacher was like, just stop asking these questions.
Right.
And I was like, but I don't
I'm critically
get it.
thinking right now.
Anyway, and so when I look back at things, yeah, there were signs, but my dad actually pointed out at the time I was, I think, in communications or undecided in my freshman year. And so I went and I met with the advisor,
Right.
who I ended up going into the broadcast meteorology program. My dad had showed me an article, and like I was saying at the time, it was the only broadcast meteorology program in the country. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'll go check that out. And so I did, and they told me I could graduate in 5 semesters, and I'd only been in for 1. And I was like,
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Were you the only female in the class?
No, there were several more. Actually, one of my friends in the class, she works in New York now, Audrey Puente. Her father, I don't know if you've heard of Tito Puente. Mm-hmm. So he was like, he wrote the song "Oh Yeah, Como Va" that Santana made famous. He's huge. He's from Puerto Rico, and he's huge in the Latin community. He played the timbales, and anyway, so his son does a lot, but he's in Miami. So she was actually in my class, and she was like New York, Puerto Rican. Mm-hmm. She had the fake nails. She'd always be like yellow and gray. And we were just like, and she was like, who is this Southern girl who's like, hey, how are you doing?
Country hick.
Where are you from? I was just amazed. Like, oh, that's so cool. Like somebody new. And that's what I loved about the program. So there were people from all over the country. I mean, from Canada, from Wisconsin. I remember Chad, he's back up in Wausau, Wisconsin, but he wore shorts every day. He was like, this is not cold here.
It probably felt good.
And it snowed. I'm like, it's snowing. He was like, it's still not cold. I'm like, you're crazy. Yeah. And so anyway, so it was just really neat. It was fun to be able to meet so many different people. And I've always been that type of a person who has wanted to learn more about people. And I was in 11th grade, I was Hugh O'Brien Youth Leadership. I was selected to go to that, and that was at Millsaps. And so I got to meet some cool people from that, just from around the state. So that kind of really started fostering that, what I loved about just being able to meet new people. I remember going to visit my friend in New York, Audrey, and she was like, Carrie, quit talking to people. I was like, they're smiling. They're talking to me. Yeah. She was like, they're going to kill you. And I'm like, they're happy. Yeah.
Usually New Yorkers just want to bump you and get out of the way.
Yeah, but they were having, she was like, I do not know how. I mean, I don't understand it. I said, I'm just talking to them.
Yeah. So, what I found out is like when you go to these states that have never heard your Southern accent, they look at you kind of like like you're in a zoo, like you're in a attraction. You know what I'm saying?
Like I've seen y'all on
Can you just talk? Can you just talk? Yeah, we'll just talk.
What do you want me to say?
Yeah. But it's funny with Starkville because every time I go to Starkville, 3 out of the 4 times, we've got ran out of the stadium because of tornado. Starkville gets some bad weather.
They do.
Is it worse than Hattiesburg?
I don't know. I know Hattiesburg does get a lot. We here are like the maritime influence for us helps us tremendously.
Yeah, I went to USM for 3 years, and I was like, this is more tornadoes than I remember in my entire life, like the first 6 months. And I don't like tornadoes.
But when you are more directly connected, Powers went to Alabama. And I don't remember what year it is. Now, Eric, our other meteorologist, Eric Charles Hall, he is a savant with dates. He's like, oh, that was from April 19th of 2016. And I'm like,
remember yesterday.
How do you know? But he does. He knows dates. I mean, he can be like, oh, that storm. Oh, that was from 1995. And I'm like, how you were like a baby, but he remembers dates. And so
This is my bedtime story.
Yeah. So I was enthralled by that. But anyway, I don't remember where I was going with that.
The tornadoes in Alabama.
Yes.
But
so she was up at Alabama, and so I was calling her, telling her to get safe, like, because I knew that those were coming through, and the apartment building like next to her was completely demolished.
Yeah.
So
I was there
it's
when William
fast.
Carey got
Literally
You remember that?
3 out of the 4 football games, sirens go off. They pull everybody out of the stands, and I'm like, here we go again. Can't wait to come back to Starkville again.
I'd rather go through a hurricane any day than be near a tornado.
You don't even see what it's coming down. It's tearing stuff up.
It is. Well, and it's just they're so fast. They're so violent. And
unpredictable.
It is. They are. I don't. It's so stressful covering it because things have changed so much now. The people who call when we break into programming
and mad about it. Are you serious?
Oh,
I just had Pat Sajak on my channel, and now he's not on there anymore.
You don't understand. I mean, even if it like the Little League World Series, those people are crazy. Like, why are you covering it up? I don't care. It's not near me.
Yeah.
And we're like really?
People's lives are in danger.
I know. So it's like mine's not. But
Right.
I mean, I'm telling you, the amount of calls and emails that we get at the station are obscene. That some people can't get out of their own world and their own head to think this is important information. Yeah, it sucks. It's covering up something I want to see.
Right.
But now it has shifted because we're like, can we wait? Can we wait a little bit? Because we used to go on and we would have to stay on.
Yeah.
And we would be like, we don't even see anything on the radar. Like, we don't see the signature anymore. It's not there anymore, but we would have to stay on and cover it. And so I do understand how that is annoying. It's like you're not even saying anything. You're saying the same thing over and over.
Right.
But now we don't do that as much.
Well,
so
you
things
got
have changed.
you got other avenues, right? Like with the app, or you could maybe break in and say, hey, go to our Facebook page and then just be live there, right?
I know a lot of y'all do that. I know Wesley, y'all usually go live from the Facebook page and say, hey, stay with me through this.
Right. Yeah. And so that is the kind of the new way. Now, if there's a tornado, we'll be on. Like Moss Point. We got really quick after. And I was there that day. And that was, one of those things that we tracking it, and it was like, what happened, and it was rare. I mean, it moved from north to south, which those things, I mean, that never happens. Tornadoes are almost all, you look at the map and it's like south to north. Right. I mean, southwest to northeast, like almost all of them. And so it was just very rare, which is why it was as powerful as it was, because the setup was so different. But yeah, it is insane that, and then if we're talking about bad weather, and we don't say a city because it's not affecting them, then the people get so mad about that. Why are you not saying my city?
Double-edged sword.
Because there's nothing happening there.
Were you? When did you get here down on the coast in WLOX? What year?
2002.
Okay, so you were here for Katrina.
Yes.
So you remember the landmass between New Orleans and Mobile, right? So is it a little? It's
Jim Cantor.
It's a little bit more specific of that same vibe, because I know we were upset. I was upset about that. Well, not the landmass between, which is probably not what you're talking about. You're talking about the county.
No, people. Yes, and people or their city. Like, why are you not mentioning my city? And then also somebody sent an email just the other day. Why is the city not on the map? I'm like, because there's not a reporting station there. We're not just going to make up a number and put it on the map. And I understand how it's frustrating, but those sites cost money. They cost money to maintain. You have to have, a reliable internet source to get it back to the information.
You can't just have somebody out there with a bucket saying, hey, we got this much rain.
Yeah, look, it rained this much. I put a ruler in it. I mean, that's not it. It's just much more involved and detailed than that. And so I don't know. I mean, I think in life, though, honestly, like, we can talk about the weather stuff all the time, but I think in life, one thing that people do too much is jump to conclusions. Correct. It's like, you've just got to give people the benefit of the doubt.
That's right.
And I mean, isn't it so much nicer to be like, well, maybe they just didn't mean it that way.
Benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
That's instead
of being like, they just, and I'm like, just give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean,
what I like about it is, and probably this is part of the problem. South Mississippi, you covered the bottom 6 counties.
Only 6.
I didn't know all these names in the 6 counties. So when y'all come on and do the little path projection, and it's like, blah, 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 blah. You're like, I've been living here my entire life and never heard of Barf or Boo or whatever it is.
So they're little towns a lot of the time, but there are people who live there. And, really a lot of times north of I-10, that's where you're going to see. And here's another part of the problem. That's where you're going to see more of the storms, but that's not where the main population is. I mean, there are people who live there, and it does not discount how important they are.
Right.
But the major populations are south of I-10. And I was actually just talking this morning to, I think it was Judge Patano, and he said that Harrison County is going to be it will be the largest county in the state.
Oh, no doubt.
Within the next, I think, year or two, because right now we're second.
Jackson.
I think Rankin
County.
Or one of the counties in Jackson. But I think that Harrison County within the next year or two will be the biggest state with our influx of people and housing and everything with our
biggest county in the state.
We
were talking to Haley about that, weren't we?
Yeah, you look at casinos, the schools. D'Iberville is quadrupled. Biloxi's still rolling. Gulfport's still rolling. I mean,
yeah. And that was a lot of Katrina transplants, even just talking about for locally, right? A lot of people moved off of the east end of Biloxi and Biloxi in general.
A lot of people went north.
Yeah.
Wool Market in those areas. So that's why those places are blowing up.
Yep. You mentioned earlier about the program at Starkville. It was the first program. So it was first broadcast meteorology. What did people do before that?
Well, meteorology programs. Right. And so broadcast meteorology can be looked down upon by meteorologists because it's like, look, I'll say it all day, every day. I tell my Mets and I tell anybody in the public, the 3 Mets who work at WLOX with me, and I guess technically for me, but with me,
right,
know way more about meteorology than I do. Number 1, they are more recently out of school.
Right.
Number 2, they just have that more meteorological mind. I can communicate it. Right. That is my strength.
Right.
And there is strength in that, because if you had someone up there who was just giving you a dissertation about how this happens,
we don't want to hear robots.
Nobody wants to hear that. You've got to make it relate. And so that's been a lot of what I've done in trying to help people grow. Luckily we haven't had a huge turnover.
No.
So in helping people grow, and we have interns in, you talk to them about how you have to make it relate to their lives. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about them. And it's not about being right or wrong with the forecast. It's about giving them what you think is going to happen and giving them the information. But even if you think this is going to happen, you still kind of need to give them what might else happen so they can be prepared. The whole point is to let people be prepared.
Right.
And so, for me, I'm like, it's not about being right or wrong. It's about giving the information and not causing panic.
Yeah.
I don't like to go out much during hurricane season because people are always like, what do you think about hurricane season? I'm like, I try not to.
I hope you don't see me. That's what I hope. I hope you don't see me do it.
On that note, you took your job from Mike Reeder, who was the head. And literally, we were at the dock, and it was a weekend before me and my wife got married. And the first thing my father-in-law asked Mike, "Hey man, what's the weather going to be like?" I'm like, dude, you don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like 6 months from now.
That's what I led with. Like, it's a fishing thing too. Like when Mike was in, it's like, damn it, Mike. You said it was going to be this, and you did that. It's like it's his fault, but it's kind of a running joke.
Yeah. Well, people always always say, you're the only person who can have a job that gets it wrong half the time. 50% of the time.
Yeah. My favorite one is, couldn't you just say 50% chance of rain today? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Who knows, right?
Yeah,
it doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't.
I'm not.
But it's it's it is what it is. Hey. But my kids are here.
We got an audience. Yeah, we got audience.
Live audience.
Live audience. Yeah.
Live audience. Right?
7 and 9.
Right. Still counts.
It does. Not people.
Right. Yeah. No. So y'all catch a little heat, but it's all in good fun.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, what's it like? Like, people see you obviously on the screen and what you say on the news, but what is it like when you come in? Like, can you give us like the backstory of how your day goes? Like, getting the weather report from the time you get there to the time you say what you say on camera? How does that work?
Well, I mean, generally it changes. And I mean, my schedule, I feel like, is so all over the place. I was off today.
Okay.
But like normally on Mondays and Tuesdays, normally I would do the late shift. So I'd go in between 2 and 3 p.m. and get off around 11 p.m. And then Wednesday, I'm kind of a mid shift and should be with mid shift too, Thursday, Friday, if no one's off. But like this week, Eric will be off. So I am going to work the late shift Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
So you're constantly moving around. My schedule's a lot like that.
Yeah. So it's a lot of a shift. And like if Wesley's off, Taylor and I kind of take turns, filling in for him. So that's getting up at, 2:15 in the morning and working until, noonish.
And with you being the head, I'm guessing you make some kind of schedule and say, hey, that's your job.
It is. But I mean, people are like, well, I mean, you don't have to do that. You're the chief. And I'm like, well, yes, I do. I mean, I'm not going to
part of the team. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to just shirk all of that on them and be like, oh, y'all do this. I'm going to only do what I want to do. Yeah. So, and I mean, that morning shift is,
that's tough.
It is tough.
That's tough.
It is tough. And I always tell Wesley, I'm like, I mean, I get it. I mean, it's like you're on an island because he is like with the weather team. He is on the island by himself. I mean, we really don't ever see him. Like our paths don't cross that much. But he
does a really good job.
He does.
He probably likes it though. Like some people like it.
Yeah.
Is he a morning guy like that? You think?
He's a morning-ish guy, but like
2:15. That's tough.
Yeah, it's the middle of the night. It's. I mean, it is literally
burning the midnight oil.
Yeah. So that's just morning show's a tough schedule. But I mean, you come in, you're looking at the models, you're looking at the latest runs, you're trying to figure out, has there been that much shift in the forecast? The days when it's the busiest is when you're having to nowcast. When you're having to, like tomorrow, we'll be getting rain. Is there heavy rain that's going to be coming in? Is that going to be an issue?
Threats of severe weather.
Right.
And
so there's not really a threat of severe weather. We could get some decent rain. And that's not really an issue for tomorrow. And
that's an advanced forecast, by the way, for our people watching live.
That's $9.99.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
And so then we have another chance of rain coming in Friday, Saturday. And that could be another pretty decent amount of rain.
Right.
And then another chance coming in Monday, Tuesday. So I'm looking at like next Monday, Tuesday, perhaps. I mean, if we see the rain tomorrow and if we see the rain coming in this weekend, then we could be looking at some flooding issues.
Okay.
So those
needed some rain.
Yeah, we do. But those are some of the things that you do is you're kind of looking out and seeing what do we need to do for staffing because there have been some people sick. So when people are sick, then things change. And, because that's the thing is that sometimes with jobs, you can be like, well, like if one of y'all are sick, you'll be like, man, I'm just not going to be there today. Yeah. And one of you could handle it. If one of us isn't there, somebody's got to be there. Somebody's got to be there to do the weather.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, I know I've done that from my house before. I mean, I did it from my house a lot during COVID.
Yeah,
but,
I remember that.
I mean, even after that, if there was a schedule snafu and
it's just got to get done.
It's got to get done. Somebody's got to be on there and you got to get it done.
I think, people like the viewers, you kind of take that for granted that there is that element of it. We just think that y'all live inside of the little screen there.
I didn't even know y'all went home. I thought you
we just
slept in the back room.
Stepped off camera and just in and out. Yeah, exactly.
Well, some people think too that it's recorded. And that's one thing that I always try to urge people to think about because, there are people, as behind the keyboard who like to be really mean and say really mean things.
Yeah.
And so
you got to pray for those people.
Yeah. But this goes for everybody that, I mean, a lot of these people are just starting out, especially our reporters. We've got a lot of new young people and they're learning and it doesn't help to just bash people.
No. And mistakes happen.
Exactly.
Right.
And
everybody's human.
We know that.
Right.
Yeah. Like we've done 200 shows and last week the internet where we went on no sound.
We don't know how to restart everything and then the sound was back.
Yeah. So it happens. Yeah, it does happen. And I mean, when you're doing things, watching the news, like what do y'all do when y'all are watching the news?
Sit on the couch.
Yes.
Relax.
Hanging out.
Getting ready for bed.
Right.
Because we're not doing that.
No,
y'all are grounded.
We're work
grounded,
still. And so people are like, oh, I didn't ever think of that. And I'm like, so the hours, that's what I tell people when they're thinking about getting, I'm like, the hours suck.
10 o'clock and then you got to go home.
And then holidays.
You got to deal with kids, all that stuff at 10 o'clock at night. That ain't.
Yeah. Well, I don't have to. Thank goodness my husband does that, and they're asleep generally when I get home. But that is also the sucky thing about it.
Yeah,
like
to put them to bed.
Like this week, I'll see them more tomorrow because they're out of school, but they go back to school Thursday. So I'll drop them off Thursday and I won't see them again until Friday morning when I drop them off at school, and I won't see them again until Saturday morning.
Yeah, because they'll be asleep by the time you get home.
Right. So it's one of those things that it's like, it really tugs at my mama heart that I'm not there as much. And then now they're old enough to really vocalize, like, why do you have to go to work? And I'm like, well,
to pay for that iPad.
Do you like a roof?
Yeah.
Do you like your iPad?
Do you like food?
Yeah.
Do you like your little drifter?
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
So there are those things. So
that's part of the sacrifice.
It is. Yes. It is. And everybody makes them. And there are so many people making so many bigger sacrifices than I am, that are having to work 3 and 4 jobs just to make sure they can put food on the table for their kids.
Right.
So, hats off to those people. I just wish we would give more people the benefit of the doubt. And that is, I think, one of my biggest mantras. Well, that it's just be nice.
There's a lot of people on the internet who like to play behind keyboards.
So, and usually they're broken is how I look at it.
Something's wrong with them too.
You know what I mean? And it's just got to kind of pray for them.
Well, I mean, when you Google my name, you see the email. It's like the infamous email. And I don't know.
Yeah, did that go national?
Oh, that went international.
Really?
Oh, yes. I had emails from, people UK and people Canada contacted me, but I wasn't allowed to talk and, contract stuff with work.
Right.
I didn't, but I got a really cool email from a man in the UK. And he was like, my mama used to always say, if you can't say anything nice.
Yeah, that's a Southern thing.
But how do you finish it?
If you don't say anything at all.
Don't say anything at all.
Well, he gave another version. And then he said, if you can't say anything nice, he said his mama used to always say, wait until you can.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, that's even better because it forces you to think of something nice.
Right.
And, I tell people being negative is real easy. That's the easy road. That's a lazy road.
Everybody can be negative.
Everybody can be negative. Everybody can be ugly. I said, but to be positive in a really trying time, that is where challenge and growth comes.
Yeah.
And
taking the high road takes a lot more energy.
And even to be on somebody else's team. Like, I want you to succeed. You know what I'm saying? I want you to be the best you could be.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
People want to break people down.
Yeah, it is. It makes them feel better.
So that went international, that story?
It did.
If people that haven't heard about it, and you shared it out, I think?
I did. And to be honest with you, it was, gosh, this was probably 5 years ago. And, it was just when they were getting us, because at first they didn't want us to use our Facebooks because when Facebook was new, you can't be on Facebook at work. And now it's, part of our job.
Why haven't you been on Facebook?
Exactly.
Your numbers, you haven't been sharing.
Exactly. Sure. So, they were trying to get us to get, I'm like, I know how to get my numbers up. I mean, all I have to do is, post a horrible email that you get from people that's so random.
So that wasn't rare? Like that wasn't?
No. Oh, and I think that this person had sent emails before, but when there's so much, it really is like, that particular email, I did not take personally because it was so much. Like, I felt so much hurt for her.
That's what I'm saying.
That someone
I thought it was a guy. It was a girl.
No,
it
was a woman. And it was, for her, I feel like that's probably all she's ever heard in her life, that she thinks that the only way to be happy is to be skinny. And the only way to be happy is to be pretty. And that if you're not that, then you shouldn't be in anybody's face. You shouldn't be able in. And I hate that because somebody told her that.
Right.
Yeah. And that's that's just not a happy way to live. It's not a happy life. And so I feel so blessed that my husband loves me. It doesn't matter what size. And I've been all of them. He loves me through all of it. And doesn't matter. It's the outside. It's the inside. That's what we have to try to nurture.
Well, that's something that lady will probably never experience because she doesn't have that mindset.
And I hope she does.
Yeah,
I hope she learned. I hope she learned from it. But the guy that's on it's on CBS show, and it's, I think, CSI, maybe Hawaii or something. He used to be on, I know, but he used to be on Young and the Restless. I think he was Malcolm on Restless, on Young and the Restless. Anyway,
would it be weird if me and him just
but he's really really good guy.
Okay,
but he shared my story a year after. So on the year anniversary of it, it was like,
big thing.
it was another wave.
So you blew back good.
Yeah, and I think that story ended up having just under 1 million views.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, a while ago when that was a lot. I mean, but then it was and I think that year People Magazine did I was like one of the top 10 like news maker type of people in news, like that clapped back or something like that. But I mean, that wasn't why I did it. I just wanted, people to know that there are people who talk like this, and there are people who do. And honestly, I heard this stat, and look, I'm not even gonna lie and act like I looked it up and I know this and I'm a statistical person, but I have heard that meteorologists are the most likely to commit suicide in television businesses
in the
y'all
and Dennis.
In television, and women in TV have a much higher percentage of divorce.
Because of the hate mail.
Well, some of the hate mail, but also some men are not very secure in other people wanting and looking at and talking inappropriately to their wife. Be like, well, what did you do to do? And I didn't do anything. I did my job. And so, that creates friction.
Right. Of course.
And that was one thing that works with me and Dan, my husband, is that he
was in the comments.
Does not care.
Yeah. He was in the comments.
Was he?
Yeah, he says we love Carrie Duncan.
Yeah.
Well, I love him.
Well, speaking of him, did we step off on that? Where were we at this morning?
We were at his swearing in, which is why I'm dressed. I don't normally dress like this or wear this much makeup.
I was like, dang,
it's our show.
It's our show. I thought we were a big deal.
I'm fancy.
Yes.
I'm more fancy like Applebee's.
Yeah. Right. So he is, explain what he is.
He is District 1 supervisor now for Harrison County.
Right.
So that is the farthest eastern part, all the way up to Stone County down to the beach. So the lines are crazy, to be honest with you. But really what I learned is that, number one, I really wasn't 100% sure what district we lived in. And he knew. But most people don't know. They're like, what district do I live in?
Well, because we kind of decided that was going to be part of this show, and especially last year was election cycle or whatever, there was so much stuff that we didn't. I feel like I paid attention a little bit, but I'm having to look stuff up before people come on.
Yeah, and you, like you said, it looked like somebody did
like
this.
Yeah.
How does that make sense?
We were flashing.
But it goes by population, I guess.
Yes, it's about, from what I understand, I think the number-ish I heard is about 77,000 in each person's district.
Yeah, we covered that, but I don't remember it exactly.
So I think it's something along those lines. But he's, he is a really good guy, and he's fair. Like, he will be like, he has worked for AT&T for 24 years, I think.
Okay. And
so he is like, it's black or it's white. And I'm like, oh, there's a lot of gray. He's like, no, there's none. I'm like, no, there's a lot of gray. He's like, no, there's none. It's right or it's wrong. And so he is very much too for the working people. He understands that that's how things get done, because he was one of them. I mean, he was literally climbing poles and putting the lines back up after Katrina.
Right. So he was out there, he was sweating.
Yeah. He went over the Pascagoula River. But anyway, he's going to be supervisor for District 1. And
and have you upped his minutes on his phone? Have you given him free nights and weekends?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because I'm sure it's ringing.
We don't know. I mean, today's really day one. And so we're just.
He got sworn in.
He got sworn in.
9, 10 o'clock. I saw y'all's pictures earlier.
Yeah, 9, 10 o'clock this morning. Between 9 and 10. And then had his first board meeting. It got started a little bit late, but there were only 3 supervisors there, and 2 of them were new. And then, but Rebecca did phone in. I was in there. Rebecca phoned in, and she had said that her husband and 2 children both had the flu. So it was like, thank you. Stay away. Stay away. And then Kent ended up coming in at the end. So, so it was neat to see it. It was boring.
Oh, yeah, it is.
I mean, it's like, can I get a motion? Second, I mean, I was like, and it was just going through. Yeah. But it was fast today. I know that there wasn't chatter about anything today, but now,
when he gets on them big topics, like Randy, who just went off the show, I mean, we saw it live on Jackson County. They were staying there for like 12, 13 hours just hearing, the counties, whatever's going on that day. And it's like, God, Lee, I got something better to do. But I guess if that's your job, you ain't got nothing better to do.
Part of it.
Yeah.
Had he always wanted to be involved in that? Where did that come from?
Well, he said in the speech that night that he won the election, that he watched his dad talk one night. His dad is a deacon at Nugent United Methodist Church in Gulfport, but he had seen his dad speak one night at like a ball, Mardi Gras ball. They used to always go, and they would come and watch from upstairs, and then they would leave. Their grandmother would take them. And he remembers watching him talk, and he was like, I'm going to do that one day. And then he ended up with the boys. He ended up getting involved with, he's president of Woolmarket Youth Sports.
Right.
And so, of the baseball. Okay. And so he's president of that. And I think just that, I mean,
being involved in the community that way.
Because he decided, he was like, I'm going to run for supervisor. I'm going to, and I was like, all right, I mean, whatever you want, I'll support you. He didn't even realize there was a salary. He just thought it was volunteer.
Oh, wow.
And so he really does just wants to help. He wants to make things better. He wants to do right by the people. And he knows he's not going to always get it right, but he's going to explain why he does what he does. And I do think that he will be a very positive impact for the county. And he's very much a forward thinker. So he knows, he's like, we've got to be thinking 6 years out because it's going to take that long to make things happen.
At least.
Like you can't just be like, oh, I want to Topgolf here now.
Right.
And it's like, well, we're not in I Dream of Jeannie, we're not,
In 6 years, you might get the plans.
Right.
Well, then the permitting, the infrastructure.
And so it is. It's look at Buc-ee's,
Right.
Yeah, it's here, but it's, a year without those people who live without that bridge that they've had for their whole life,
Where's Cindy at? Cindy in the comment? We got a buddy who lives over there.
If you talk about it 3 more times, he'll know.
Yeah, he'll be like, oh, he's
not happy.
So mad.
We're like, Sydney, it's a Buc-ee's, man. You're going to love it.
Yeah, you like beef jerky? You like corn nuggets? I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Is that y'all's district? Is Buc-ee's over there? So
that's Marlon Ladner.
Okay.
So he's just starting. He said he was starting his 24th year.
Ugh.
So, or 24th or 25th.
And he started on the Buc-ee's year 1. So,
yeah,
there it
is. So, but anyway, it takes I guess it takes a while to get everything done. And, but yeah,
that's good to hear that he's didn't even know there was a salary, because that kind of lets you know where his heart was at. And we talked about this many times on the show. It's like people forget that the local guys are the most important guys. They have the most effect on your education boards, your supervisors, then into your state government.
In front of your house.
Yeah, but everybody focuses on the presidential stuff only, and that is important. But your community elected officials
do way more for your everyday life. And all the money, every penny that comes into the county goes through the Board of Supervisors. I didn't realize that.
That's right. That's right.
Every penny. You're talking education. Every penny that comes into the county goes through them. So it's a lot.
Do you remember the number, the vote number
that he won by?
In Harrison County, the votes all together.
Oh, it was
pretty low, probably.
Low.
Yeah.
I think
every year.
In the district,
probably a couple thousand.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit higher because of the sheriff's race.
Right.
So I think that in District 1 there were about 4,500 to 5,000. Dan would probably know better, but I do think he only won by 130 votes.
Yeah.
So it was close. But it was about 2,500, 23, 24, 2,500, somewhere in that range for each of them.
Yeah.
And he won by the 130.
And that's the whole Harrison County.
And that was just District 1.
Okay.
And so, but you think there's about 77,000 people. Now that's people. So that's not all.
Right.
That includes children. So that's not all the voters. But yeah, I think it was maybe 20% of the population turned out to vote.
Yeah.
That could vote.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
Well, hopefully he does well. I think, like I said, his heart is in the right place. That's what I always like to hear. People's got.
How was campaigning?
Well, I couldn't really do much. He did a lot.
Yeah.
He worked really hard.
Right.
He had a lot of people. I did what I could behind the scenes, and I get that in my position, I would never have even thought about doing anything on TV ever.
Right.
I mean,
you had to stay biased.
Right.
100%.
Not biased.
Unbiased.
Unbiased. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No,
Not biased.
We know
you're
what he
wrong.
meant. Yes.
Wrong.
You're right. People that watch the show knew what he meant.
Unbiased.
Yeah. So, and I mean,
For people that don't know,
course.
though, you're referring to the ads that went out.
Yeah, it was the signs, right?
well, yeah. And, you know, I was under the impression that he could use a picture of his family. Because it's his family.
Which is you.
Right. Which I'm in. I mean, we created two human beings who roam this earth.
Right.
So y'all are a family.
It's not just like business partners.
And for 10 years.
Yes.
And so, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, that was awful and uncomfortable. It was the day we were leaving for our family vacation. And so we just went around and picked up and collected all the signs. But I mean, those signs are like $100 each.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yes.
And I mean,
and time to go pick them back up.
I mean, he did so much of this work on his own. I mean, he built his own website. He researched and did everything. And anytime anybody would come in and say, hey, you need to do this, he's like, I've done it. I did it. I looked it up. I Googled it and I figured out how to do it. And I did it.
That.
Yeah. And so he really did do a lot of that on his own. And in doing that, you know, it was just like, well, this was a lot of money. And so even people who did donate, I'm like, that's a lot of money. That was like 10 signs. That's $1,000.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, we'll just pick them up. We'll go on vacation, come back and regroup and figure out after that. And so that's, you know, what we came up with was none of my likeness could be used. And so we put the signs back out to have them out there, and it ended up creating a little bit of a buzz, which I really didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. But there were people that were like, oh, they're getting divorced. The campaign really got to them.
Because of the
Oh, yeah.
So,
I'm like, they didn't know. They clearly don't know us.
If you didn't know Harrison County, you grade yourself out. It was your son, the boys, and then your figure grayed out.
Right.
So that was the new sign.
Yeah.
That's the new sign.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, like, if that really would have been the story where y'all really did get divorced and he was just like, I'll just gray her out. And get the photos out. Like, who the hell would do that?
Or it's like
maybe a man would do that, but I don't know.
Or
like,
Christmas pictures where you put your boyfriend on the side so you can crop them out.
Yeah.
Terrible.
You're like, you're not in the family.
Yeah,
You have to be on the
cut
end.
you right out.
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah. So that is weird, but it sounds like y'all made the best of it.
Yeah.
We did. Yeah, we did. And, you know, I have always been like, you know, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together and we'll do what we think we need to do and it'll work or it won't. I mean, we said with the election, he'll win or he won't.
Yeah.
I mean,
we'll know.
He was like, either more people will vote for me or they won't.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, and after this 4 years, if they don't like me, they'll vote for somebody else, and that they have the right to do that. It's never been personal for him ever. And he was like, just more people wanted something different, and I decided to do it.
Yeah.
And then people are like, why did he want to do that? I'm like, I don't know, but he wants to make a change.
He's there now. Yeah.
He's there now and he wants to make a change. So hopefully he will, you know, hopefully everything will go well. And I mean, I think he'll do right and do right by the people. And I think that that's what's most important, anybody who's listening, I hope that they know. And they, in District 1 especially, not even just District 1, he is going to do what's right for them and for the county. It's not going to be something that benefits him.
Right.
It's going to benefit everyone.
If you still got a good in with him, you could mention us to him and we have him on after he's been in for a few months or whatever.
I know he grades you out on
I know he grades you out on those photos.
I know. We'll have to see if I'm still in his good graces.
Yeah, if he is, we'd love to have him come on the show.
Yeah.
Talk about Harrison County. It's part of our wheelhouse. But we jumped all around. We didn't get to the part yet where you made it to the coast in WLOX and your story. Yeah.
So
we do that. We go all over the place.
Okay. I went down to North Carolina and I was there for 3 years. And then I came down here and I was interviewing at WFMY in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Okay.
And I had an offer from them, but it was to do what I call the cocaine shift.
Okay.
Which is
I'm listening.
Mornings and nights, weekends, and then 2 days a week. So it was basically like all day Saturday and all day Sunday because you had to do the morning show and it was a full morning show. So it was like an 8 to 10 hour shift, a couple hours break, and then another 8 to 10 hour shift, a few hours break, and 8 to 10. So it was why you would call it the cocaine shift. Not that I've done cocaine.
No.
I mean, but and then 2 days a week. So I really was not jazzed about that because I had just gotten off of that at the station up in North Carolina at WITN where I was working. And then I came down here and I mean, I told you I had like a kind of Wally Cleaver. Like my parents bribed me with a convertible. If I moved down here, I'd be closer to them. And so I was
smart people.
Yes. So when I drove over though, I remember thinking, I should not come to this place because we came over from Gulf Shores. They had a condo over there.
Okay.
And so we drove over for the interview. And Doug Walker, do y'all remember Doug Walker?
Yeah.
And it was before he had lost his weight, and he was the grumpiest man. And I was just like, oh my gosh! I remember Karen Abernathy. I was like, gosh, she's so pretty. Like there were these things, but I didn't know. And this was really before the internet was what it was. Mike Reeder came to get me at the door, and I had no idea who he was. He didn't introduce himself, so I'm like, oh, I guess I'll follow this guy.
Right.
I didn't know who he was.
Hey, I'm the janitor.
Yeah. Mike, could you give me something to drink?
But I'll tell you, like, I really was like, I'm not going to take this job. I'm going to stay in a bigger market. The FMY was a much bigger market.
This was 02?
This was 02. Okay. And so I was just like, I don't think I'm going to do it. So then the GM was asking me questions and I was like, is the company in the red or the black? What's the best thing about this place? Like I was asking him like I'm interviewing you.
Right.
And he was
bottom line.
Yeah. He was very impressed with that.
Okay.
And so anyway, so they offered me the job. I was like, and then my news director at the time was like, no, he had just left. He was still on my resume. The news director that hired me at ITN, he was like, I mean, if you don't hire this girl, you're like the dumbest people. And so he was, and so they did. And they offered me the job and I ended up taking it and thinking on it and then ended up taking it.
Now, coming from Starkville, had you been to the coast much at all? Never? Not really?
No, maybe when I was little, but not really. If we vacationed in Gulf Shores.
Okay.
I mean, we would go to Gulf
Shores. So you knew what the coast
Beach.
was.
Yeah.
Just not this one.
Right. Yeah.
We got a bunch of dirty water and all that.
You know what? It has made us what we are between the shrimping and the, yes, we have had Camille and yes, we've had Katrina and we've had other things, but some of those other storms would have made a much bigger dent and a much bigger disaster area did we not have the barrier islands.
Oh yeah.
No, and those barrier islands are why our water's brown.
Yes. And we heard about it here. That's why it's a tribute, not a punch, but, so you took the job. And how was it in 02? That's one of the questions I wanted to get into. There's been some changes down there, just like you already mentioned, just social media, right? Which that would have been probably. Oh
gosh, yeah. When I was in Erie, I was like in charge of their whole internet. I was 21 years old, out of college, and they're like, "Oh, she's young and new. We'll just let her do it." And it was dial-up.
Everybody get off the phone. I got to make a post.
Nobody can answer calls.
And so then in North Carolina, did a little bit more, and then down here, actually on the weekend, I was weekend web producer too. At one point, and then we started growing our digital team, and things took off. But yes, things are so different than they were, and it was so different here because WLOX. I mean, like one of the first emails I got was send that fat lady packing, and I was like, they were like, WLOX is such a powerhouse, and I was like, oh, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. However, they did.
Come on, bro.
Well, because WLOX is a powerhouse.
And it's a staple,
and it is. Jimmy Love, when he owned that station, I was just talking to David Elliott about this the other day. He was like, we're going to compete with the top 50 market. It doesn't matter that we're a market 150. We're going to have the best of the best and the best talent and the best, so it really was that type of mentality. And now the Loves didn't own it when I came in. It was, I think, Liberty, and then Liberty sold to Raycom, and then Raycom sold to Gray. So that's where we are now. But things just in the whole business, I mean, we used to have to take the satellite truck out and you'd have to shoot up. You had to have a clear path to send it back. And now they walk around with a backpack. I mean, we can go live on our phones.
Right.
Yep. The little live view solos.
Yes. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, David Elliott shoots some of his stories that he goes out and does on his iPhone and comes back and edits it. And I mean, if you know how to hold it steady, it's still, I mean,
you get a gimbal if you can't.
Right.
Yeah. Here it is. Here you go.
When you started, what was you hired on as a meteorologist, right? And was that
weekend?
Okay.
And so I was hired on his weekend, and I also did, I did the Coast Cuisine. I don't know if y'all remember that. I'd be like, bon appetit, y'all.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I get to go around to all the restaurants and, try everything.
Yeah.
And so it was.
You had to work your way up the ranks, I'm guessing, to be chief meteorologist. So
I
you
did.
sat behind Mike for how long?
Gosh. Well, I got there in 2002 and I had Bradley at the end of 2014. And I was off of weekends. Well, no, Mike decided he didn't mind working on Sundays. So he ended up taking the Sunday through Thursday shift. And I worked Saturday. I worked the Tuesday through Saturday.
Right.
And so, and I would fill in for him, when I was the main fill in. And then we had somebody who would be a part-time fill in for us and would fill in for me if I was filling for him, type of thing. Todd Adams was one of them. Rob Knight also, he filled in. But
Mike retired in 2016.
Is that when
Nancy Reeder said that?
Okay, 2016.
So. Yeah,
probably his wife. So,
that's what I'm wondering. Is that his wife?
Was. I remember. I think it may have been in 15 because he was like, "I am not going through another pregnancy," and it may have been at the beginning of 16. It was. You know what? I think it was. It was either at the beginning of 15 or 16 because Bradley was born in 14. So I don't know if he was like a few months or a year and a few months. But that's when I took over chief. And so, we had kind of talked about how I would be chief, but I would also be working the morning because that's a little bit of a better schedule to be able to
with kids,
with your kids.
Yes.
But then Wesley came in and he was just so perfect. He was such a perfect fit for the morning show. And I was like, I'm just going to go with this is, God's plan and go with, doing this evening shift. Well, I am not a night person. The evenings are real tough on me. And so when Brad was our news director, I told him, I was just like, I can't keep doing these nights. I mean, I'm having to get up early with the kids and I'm working late at night. I was like, I'm waking up on the other side of the road when I'm driving home. Like I can't do these late nights anymore. So we got it to where I was doing 2 nights and then I would do day shift the other time. So
you got time with your kids.
Yes. Yeah. So, and just not as
grinding
late. Yes. And so because when you go in at 2:00 in the afternoon, it's like, think about 2:00 in the afternoon for most people. You're like, I'm done with my day, basically.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything else.
Yeah. And so now I'm like, I've got to go to work now. It's like
we used to work in the casino.
Yeah, so and now it's like we go into 3:11. God,
I hate it. Some people love it.
It's the worst.
It's
the worst.
And some people do. It works for some people, but it's like I can't start that. I don't have enough time to finish it because I got to stop and then I got to go in. And anyway, so it just has been, the schedule has always been the hardest, but it is what it is. That's what it is in TV.
Business, yes.
Yeah, it's a business.
Show business.
And so, that's right.
So
did Mike kind of knight you?
Yeah, he gave me you don't remember, he gave me the golden clicker. I've got it somewhere still in my office.
Really? And
so,
he's like, here it is.
Yes, he was like, I am not going through another year of you having a baby and being gone for 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
He did.
Have fun.
Yeah.
So as the chief, do you do like the scheduling or whatever, as far as like you said, Wesley was just the fit. So like that was your call.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no,
obviously he had to take it.
That's not really my call. I mean, that's like my boss.
Okay.
I mean, that's the GM's call. I mean, they make the decisions most of the time. I will say that I was looking through when Tommy was retiring, Andrew was leaving. I don't know if y'all remember Andrew Wilson. He's in Atlanta now, but
y'all kind of like, I hate to say it, y'all kind of cleaned house.
Well,
everybody you, and then you took on.
Well, and Wesley came
bucks.
in there, and then we brought in Eric, and I saw him, and he had been at the station in Texas for like 5 years, and I was just like, I really see potential in this.
He's good.
Guy.
He's good.
Real good. And they're all just so knowledgeable. And then Taylor, I was like 100,000%. I want her to work.
She's a Mississippi State girl too.
She is a Mississippi State girl. She's from Kentucky, Elizabethtown, Kentucky. But she is married to a professor, a meteorology professor. Or not professor. He's an instructor at Mississippi State. Sorry, that was a promotion.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Greg, I wish I could give you that promotion. And so, anyway, I just love her. I mean, she is. she is so easy to work with, and she has just been it's just been so nice to have someone there. And they all, even the young reporters they're like, they call me Mama Carrie. I mean, they think of, because I've always been a motherly type of person. And so I'm always.
Well, it's crazy because like you're our age, you're not, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
don't call me old.
Older, Joey.
Don't call me old. You know what I'm saying?
No, I feel like I am. I'm getting old. I'm 46. And so
we just hit 40 this year. So.
Yes.
It stings.
I'm 41.
Oh, you know what?
Oh, you already hit 41.
Yeah.
46. I'll be 47 in February. So I feel like
it is what it is. It's a date.
I know. And I don't know. I feel so blessed. I feel like I've done a lot of dumb things in my life where I should be dead. So, I'm blessed.
I should have made it this far.
God is like, you're good. You're doing good things.
And now we got these knuckleheads.
I know.
Yeah.
Wrestling with each other.
Yeah, mine have been over here too, the same way.
But we're trying to raise them well, and
good.
And just raise kids who can make a positive impact in the world, be successful, contributing members of society. And really, if you do your job as a parent, in our opinion, you're raising them to leave you.
Yes.
To where they can leave you and go
18, get out, get out,
and go make an impact. But then they want to come home. You want
under the right terms as a visitor,
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or I tell mine all the time,
bring me a baby and then take it with you.
It's like as long as you're on a path moving forward, you can stay at my house as long. Like if you're in school heavily or whatever, good by all means. But we're not gonna be laying around and just
playing games.
As soon as that train stops,
I'm gaming today. It's like no, that was cool 2 years ago, but you're not now. So, but going back to the station though, y'all made like a big change since even 02, just with like. Everything's digital now. We talked about like the cell phones, but like even in your studio, right?
Oh yeah. Well, Dave was here. Was he talking about it?
A little bit, like going from like cameraman to like I said.
Well,
you didn't. When we got Dave on, you didn't have the new studio that you have now.
Quite yet.
Yeah.
But we had, I think, already gone to automation.
I think maybe
possibly.
So basically, you used to have 2 to 3 camera operators. We had a teleprompter roller and a studio like manager, basically. Then you had an audio engineer. You had a Chiron operator, which was the one typing in like their names at the bottom.
Gotcha. Right. Lower thirds. And
lower thirds, yes. And then you had your director and you had your producer. And so now you have a director and a producer.
Yeah.
So, it really significantly
shrunk everything down.
But there's also, when you see problems, it's computer driven. And so if they're doing multiple shows, something changes, like it changes last minute, do not work well with with this system.
It's all right here.
And so it is, but it's not. They have that big board, but then they have to have everything programmed in. But then if something changes, it's like, you got to do it on the
cut
fly.
the commercial. Cut the commercial.
But it's, everybody's rolling with it. It is what it is, and you got to go with it.
No, y'all put out
a
great product, and I think, like you said a little bit earlier too, it really is about the personalities that you have on the news. You can watch another channel or whether it's the news or not, but it's like it's the people that you buy into. You're part of that.
You look at Dave Ellett and Karen Abernathy. They've been there.
They are the second longest anchoring duo in the world.
I believe it.
Who's
second.
The first one?
They're in Australia.
We got to beat them.
And they are about their same age. And Karen is like, should we just because they're in the Guinness World Book. They're in the Guinness Book of World Records. Yeah. And she's like, so if they would retire, then we could stay on for a day longer.
That's right.
It'd be done.
I literally remember sleeping in my grandma's house, and all she would watch is the news. Damn, Karen Abernathy.
Well, it's
like 40 years ago. God,
how
Karen
I tell
Abernathy.
Tom, look, when my dad died and I came back home, my husband works for AT&T. So we had DirecTV for like $10 a month. Well, they stopped doing that during that time. And so we didn't have LOX at the house. And I was like, this is not working.
We're cut off from the world.
Yeah.
We're cut off from the world.
I needed that familiarity.
Right.
I just needed what I was so used to. And I'll just leave it on. I'll be like, oh, it's 1:00. There's as the world turn, whatever the show is that comes on, General Hospital.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's 1 o'clock, Tamron Hall, it's 2 o'clock. Like I know what time it is.
That was what happened when you played
on.
hooky from school.
Yes.
When you Price is Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember like all the OJ coverage, and then WLOX was obviously would come in and out of that too. It's just,
I was at State. Yeah.
At the station
I was at Mississippi State when that happened. I remember when that announcement came out, I was at the student union.
Yeah. Somebody said they just Googled that email.
Oh,
that we were talking about earlier.
It's pretty vicious.
Yeah, he said the person that wrote that is a coward, and I think you're awesome. That was Matt Creel. So I'm gonna flash that on.
I mean, and I wouldn't say. I mean, I know he says that she's a coward. I mean, I think she's just a sad.
Yeah,
I think that she's heard that all her life, and that's her reality.
Yeah,
what she wrote is her reality, and it's not mine.
Right.
And so Tom Anderson, God rest his soul, he used to say, "What somebody thinks about you is none of your business.
Unless you pay my bills, I don't care what you think."
Exactly. And so, my husband really has that mentality too. But I don't know if y'all remember, Tom was our studio guru. He ran the prompter. He gave us our standbys, and even they kept him on. He was grandfathered in because he had been with Love, and he didn't have to be there. He had money. His dad was a doctor, and he had money from other stuff, but he did it because he loved it. And he was going to retire when Dave and Karen retired.
Good luck. Good luck.
But he was murdered. His son murdered him. And so I don't know if y'all remember that. It was about 3 years ago.
I wouldn't have laughed like that.
And so, no.
I was laughing at the Carrie.
He would have wanted you to. Okay. He would have wanted you to.
No
he was this bird flu. He was this conspiracy theorist.
Oh,
guy.
we'd have got along great. Yeah.
I mean, he was wonderful, but he really cared, and he really kept everything going in the studio, even after the batteries need to be changed. This is not right. This has to be done right. And these shots, and this needs to, and so when he passed, they didn't replace him. And so we don't have anybody there giving standbys, and we don't know we're up. I mean, if our battery dies, because we use rechargeable batteries, and sometimes they just go.
There's so many points of failure in the studio like that.
Especially whatever you call it.
Automated.
Yeah.
And
so if something goes down,
but there's no one out there with us. There's nobody to say, you're up in 5, 4,
so all you do is hear it in your headphones.
That's right. All you do is hear it in your earpiece. And if something goes wrong with the earpiece or it disconnects, I've got my little thing pops out every now and again, and I'm like, I can't hear anything.
So that's an awkward point where everybody's just standing.
Or you're like, I'm just going to keep talking, and I'm going to go about the time I think I'm supposed to go. I'm like, I hope I didn't go over. My IMB came out. I don't know what to do.
We go live on location sometimes with the fishing tournaments and stuff that we do. So we set up all the stuff, and it's the same thing. Where's that one cord that I have to have that goes from here to here? We don't have it. What are we going to do?
Are we live? I think we're live.
We've actually had all this set up one year for the fishing tournament, and something failed, and then grabbed the cell phone and just held it up, and it was had all this stuff. We were just using
$3,000 worth of equipment.
Yeah,
using
$50. But that's also what I tell, because we have a lot of younger new people. I'm like, it's just television.
The show goes on.
The world's going to keep spinning. You make a mistake. And I know y'all know this at this point now, and I also tell the kids when they come in, I call them kids, the new employees. I'm like,
rookies.
It's all in how you recover.
Correct.
Everybody makes mistakes. Correct. And that is when I was able to really start growing as an on-air meteorologist. I can't talk without stumbling over my words. I mean, for 3 minutes straight, having a conversation, what makes me think I can do it on TV?
Right. Yeah.
So it's just kind of laughing at yourself and not taking yourself so seriously.
Gracefully.
Of course, there are times when you have to be serious. And I think we do that well. But there are also most of the time, it's a really easy job. But when it's not, it is
Katrina.
Awful.
Katrina is probably
any
terrible.
storm, any severe weather. I mean, because what I tell people, because it's the truth, is that our job is to protect life and property, period. It's to give you information to protect life and property, period. It's not so you can watch Wheel of Fortune. It's not so you can watch the Little League World Series. It's for me to give you the information to where you can protect life and property. Yeah. Those are both very much more important than whatever you're trying to see on TV.
And now what you do with that's on your own.
Right.
You have to heed the warning.
Right.
Yep.
So that's, have y'all watched the Katrina DVD? Do y'all remember that? Like we put one out.
I sat through it sucked.
I think I did. I think I saw some of that stuff. I don't have it.
You
though.
should. I think you can Google it. I think it's on our YouTube or something. But when you go back and you watch, it's like wow. And Jeff Lawson, of course,
yes,
he's like anchoring it or moderating it, whatever. And it was like you remember like all the things like we were really on this precipice of like just getting huge and blowing up.
All these casinos.
Yes.
And all everything gone the next day.
And I mean, it was so crazy because they set that up so well. Todd Durbin was one of the main producers on that. And he's still at the station. He's not a producer. He does like commercial production and stuff. But I mean, it's just so good. And the 911 calls, that is haunting.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but I remember seeing videos of people being like, well, I mean, that's their job. They're going to come rescue us. And I'm like, no. But people do think that. And so I think it's important to still talk about it because, well, yes, it's their job to protect you. You were told to leave and you chose not to.
Days in advance.
So these are choices, you know. I always tell my niece, I'm like, make good choices. One bad choice can ruin your life.
Yeah,
that's right.
Make good choices.
Y'all put it out there though. I think on those big storms, like the emergency services give you a time. Like, hey, at this time we will stop responding to.
I think what is it like when 70 mile an hour? Once it gets a hurricane's force winds.
Well, the bridges,
first responders,
they can't go up.
Right.
I mean, once the winds are over like 35, but I mean, yeah, there's a limit to when they will and when they stop going out because they have to for their safety.
It's funny you say that about the 911 calls because obviously the power was out during Katrina and we had one of those little tiny battery powered televisions with the antenna and we were watching the coverage and y'all said that people were on their roofs in Porto Bay. And I remember hearing that. If you know Porter Bay's on the Moines, it's a neighborhood. That's where my dad lived. He wasn't there at the time. He was with me. But long story short, we were like, they said it wrong. We were like, not in Porto Bay. There's no way that the water came that high. Oh, we're right.
Here we go.
We drove down there and everything was gone.
And we had one area that was still, I can remember, we had a phone bank. And I was unplugging, by the way. You used to have to like unplug the phone. There were cord lines that you would plug into the wall and go into the phone and you would talk on an actual telephone.
RJ11.
And I can remember unplugging and plugging in and plugging in and plugging in, just finding all the phones because Dave did that talk show on Sunday night.
Okay.
And so I don't know if y'all remember that.
Yeah.
And so we had, and then they would also take calls at other times. And we would do that's how we would do the telethons when we would do the St. That's how we used to do those.
St. Jude,
And so we had all those plugged in. And so we were plugging them in and they would start lighting up. And the only places that still had phone service that were able to get to us were from that part of Biloxi and the Porter Bay. Like those were the areas.
Latimer, that's where we were at, St. Martin.
And that's where we were getting, that's the only reason we had that information because people were calling us.
Yeah.
And I mean, another note, kind of side note from Katrina, but just news in general, people are like, why didn't you cover this? I'm like, we didn't know about it. Like, we are not omniscient.
Right.
We do not just know everything.
Yes.
And so when people don't tell us, I guess people just assume we know everything, but you have to, let people know. And in a nice way, preferably. I mean, who, what, when, why, where, short, precise, to the point, but why it's important. This would be great coverage.
Nice little email with some good font that we can read.
That's right. Yeah. those are the things that, catch the attention of, I saw
a car was on fire on the interstate and I got some video of it because traffic had slowed down and I sent it to y'all's webpage and somebody responded and y'all put it on the website.
I'm sure.
And I was like, I was part of WLOX, man. I'm pretty much part of the team.
You made it.
I was waiting for a call back,
Can I get my paycheck?
No, I just wanted to write more stories, No, I didn't write anything.
We don't know who you are, but thanks.
Yeah. It was
that's like
cool.
that Ring doorbell cam I had. I sent it to Wesley. I tagged you and Wesley and it was like a dang tornado in my front yard and Wesley
Did they share
it out. I was like,
so we both part of the team.
Yeah.
I just want a jacket maybe or a shirt.
Yeah, maybe a hat.
Oh man. Well, thank you for stopping by. This was a great conversation.
Yes.
I'm super pumped about your husband. And like I said, if you could put in a good word, have him come talk to us at some point.
Absolutely.
But your career has been stellar. We've loved watching you on the show there and continue to do great things. I know y'all got a great team. You've put together an awesome team there. So
I'm really proud of what we do and the product that we put out at WLOX as a whole, but especially our weather team. I think that
It's like a gang inside of a gang.
It is, but I mean, we really. I feel
Y'all
like
got different lockers than everybody else.
we try to keep the panic down. We're not. I mean, we're constantly fighting with the management about, well, what about, is it an alert day? Do we need to do? And we're like, no, like we don't. I mean, I just don't want to get people riled up for no reason. I mean, there's enough
of that online.
Yes, there's enough of that. So let's just, when it's important, you know it's important, and you can tell from our tone. And so I feel like we do a good job of that, and I am proud of that.
Yeah, and if you try to oversell it, people will pick up on that, especially locally in the community. Like, we're not having this.
Yeah. So
anyway, thanks again. Yes, thank you for coming in here. Great conversation. What do we got, Joe? We got a couple more things coming up in the next.
Yeah, we got
weeks.
some duck calls coming up. We got all kinds of stuff, man. Coming up. We got another fit. We got Joel Davis coming up. We're actually going on a duck hunt.
Yeah, that's what I'm
saying. The 21st and 22nd. Yeah, we're going to Arkansas with Mr. JL.
Tuna fishing too coming up.
Yeah, we're going to the strip.
Gosh, tough life you fellas live.
Yeah. We're trying to make it.
We're trying to make it. Yeah. We're also looking for a whole lot more sponsors.
Yeah. If any businesses out there want to talk to us, we're wide open. So, but anyway, thank you all for watching on the live, the replays, everybody that was in the comments. There was a lot of them today. We appreciate that. And everybody on the audio side, 2024, what a great way to kick it off. We appreciate it. So,
thank you for coming in.
Y'all stay tuned. We got a lot more to come.
That's right.
Happy New Year.
Later.